Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gooey's Dungeon Dive, the podcast where we rank every dungeon in the Legend of Zelda series. I'm Gooey, and returning to this season or episode or whatever it's going to be with me is my pal, Corey. What's going on, Corey?
Nothing. It's been a while. I'm excited to talk some Twilight Princess dungeons.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
So this game, I've gotten hitched up with this game for like left, right, up, down. Like there's been a million like wrenches that have like come into play here. Too many that I feel like it would be like I could do a whole podcast on like the history of like this
the history of Gooey's Dungeon Dive, the Twilight Princess season.
Yeah, I don't know how much we want to get into, but it has been like a process, like trying to put this together. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, like it's like what's the holdup, but just in general, Twilight Princess has been a game that I've interacted with so much over the years in my life, and then as part of Zelda Dungeon. Corey, you might feel that way too, and you know, while we actually started this, I'm sure a lot of subscribers know, and then like I hit a wall, and you know, while doing that, I was also like covering the game and like playing it for other reasons, and it just became like this like weight over my head.
Too much Twilight Princess.
I did really burn out on Twilight Princess. It was like a classic case of burnout. So I wanted to restart, but I've tried to each season have to like honor the game as best as I can. But I realized with this game, like I have covered a million different ways. So I was like, with some of the other ones, it was sort of like a rediscovery. Or not even a rediscovery, because I've played them all, but like it was sort of like this like re-exploration. But this is a game that I've been in it, you know, every year playing it start to finish. Last year at the Zelda Dungeon Marathon, I became ill before I started playing it. And that's one of those situations where like, you know, you drink something or eat something and it causes you to be sick, and then after that you're like put off the taste of it, you know.
You have game aversion.
Yeah, that really happened, but
that's crazy.
I'll put in the links because I've talked about every aspect of this game, whether it's the definitive ranking. We talked about it on my podcast, Flashback 64. We're gonna vibe rank it eventually too, so like, and we're gonna talk about it here, but I decided the best way to bring this back to lift the weight is I was like, let's do something more casual. I started the show, if you go back season 1 of Gooey's Dungeon Dive, it was literally, I made bullet point lists and just talked like it was a solo podcast. And I was like, and then it got more elaborate as it went on. And I was like, you know what, I feel like the best thing to do is let's go back to the podcast roots. So that's why you and I are here. We're kind of doing a podcast. I've got a nice little background that's a mix of, it's got, Corey can't see it, but it's got some of the dungeon artwork that you made for the start of the show. It's got some nice background capture that our pal Cal got of Ordon Forest. So we've got a nice little vibe going, and we're just going to go through the game and we're going to talk about it. I don't know how long this is going to take. This could be one long episode, it could be multiple episodes, but this is vibe ranking the dungeons of Twilight Princess. So I don't know, I feel like the stage is set. Corey, anything else before we get into it?
I don't think so. I think I'm ready to go.
All right.
We decided to do some updates to the statistics at the end, but we can cover that when we get there.
Yeah, we will. We'll see what that even means. So I've got notes for every dungeon. We're going to go through it. We'll just talk about them and see what we think. So let's start with the first dungeon, the Forest Temple. So the Forest Temple, you know, deep within Faron Woods. This is something that I feel like the game does really well. And starting here, it takes a lot from the vibe of the area surrounding it, and it does a good job of like making you feel like you're heavily in like a forested area. You know, you've got this massive tree, you got to clear a spider web, and it does a good job of like making it feel like it's part of the world, which is something I feel like you and I always give credit to, you know? Like,
love that.
Yeah. And yeah, even when you're in the dungeon, I feel like it's easy to kind of miss this like upon replay, but when you like take your time and look, when you're in the dungeon, it blurs the lines between indoor and outdoor. Not just like when you're literally going to those big outdoor areas, but there's even some rooms where it's like, oh, like the walls are like the background of this.
It's like trees.
Trees,
right?
Yeah, you're like
I find that funny. I think it's super effective, but I find it funny that you're like going inside a tree and then you look around and it's like trees as far as the eye can see in some parts.
Yeah,
I don't think that takes away from it at all, because that's an excellent vibe regardless. And then they do a great job of doing like the indoor outdoor thing.
Yeah, there's some times where it's maybe a little abstracted, but I think it nails the vibe really well. And there's like a lot that we've discussed, there's like more to it. Like you have some evidence of like, you know, maybe a civilization that like inhabited before. You know, you've got those like totem things, there's like ornate carvings on them. You've got the Deku symbol.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, the Deku symbol on the doors.
And of course, like, no Zelda dungeon is complete with like, you know, there's like mechanisms that can be controlled with like the items you get in the dungeons. So I feel like it's not just like forest, you know, but it does reflect forest really well. And like most good forest dungeons do, like the enemies really capture that. You know, you've got your plant like enemies, you know, all the various types of Dekus that there are. There's like a mini boss.
The Babas.
All the Babas.
And the Diababas and whatnot.
The big Babas, yeah.
Yeah.
We got like the mini boss, the big Baba. And also like you've got animal stuff like that would be like your forest dwellings. Monkeys, as well as the Keese. There's, you know, all the insects, all the like insect type stuff that you would expect.
Yeah.
And then like, I guess there's like the bokoblins that you've kind of dealt with in the forest. So that all feels pretty cohesive. And it also like there's fun like kind of like puzzles in the dungeon before you even get the dungeon item. And it makes good use of like the items you've come into the dungeon with, especially like they've done a good job. Like, oh, you're in like there's like a darkly lit area, you know, you've got the torch and stuff. But yeah, you mentioned the monkeys. This is a good dungeon in terms of like storytelling. There's sort of like a story that's like,
the monkey narrative.
The monkey narrative, yeah.
The monkey narrative.
That obviously like starts as well before you enter the dungeon. It's like the early part of the game. So I like that it like carries throughout, starting from like basically the start of the game. And it like I feel like, you know, outside of I mean I could talk about criticisms that I have of like the pre-dungeon, but I feel like that's one good hook that I love about the story of the start of the game. Is that from start to through the first dungeon, like you have like sort of this like simple hook of like the monkeys and trying to save them, and they help you progress through the dungeon. Like I love the monkeys. I don't know how you feel about monkeys, but
I'm a big fan of the monkey. The first few hours of Twilight Princess is a very strong monkey plot, and I love that it's like that monkey that helps you get through the fog and
yes,
you rescue and all that stuff. Like it's a great through line, especially because like once you get later on to the mini boss, it's like, oh, there's something going on with these monkeys in here. So like clearly they needed your help, you know?
Yeah, I love that. It's like they sort of have like a yeah, they start off as like mischievous, and you're like, oh, these monkeys are, we're on the same team here. So
Yeah.
even with the mini boss, Ook, who prevents you like from progressing early on. That's how you have to like rescue the monkeys to get to Ook. Ook's been infected with a parasite, and that's kind of what causes him to go evil. And then you got this is more of a mini boss, I feel like, than the Baba is the Ook fight. And I really like this fight where you have to like knock him over by rolling into those totems that he stands on.
That is fun. That's a good use of, like, typically you don't, like, rolling isn't something that's used very much in combat in The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, bonking, intentional bonking. So that's pretty cool.
I feel like this is this is cool as well. There's a few mini bosses that I can think of that do this, where it's like they are sort of showing you the item that you're gonna be getting from them. So
yeah, that's neat.
And then you get the Gale boomerang, which it lets you
knock the parasite off of Ook, and he goes back to normal, and he's all bashful and embarrassed, and
he's actually a chill dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Gale boomerang lets you control a lot of those mechanisms that we talked about. You can turn bridges, open gates, put out the torches, which is kind of it's kind of a nice twist on the torch thing. And you get some fun.
You can lift up leaves on the ground and stuff.
You can pick up the bomb wings that you use to bomb stuff, and that has some fun puzzles.
A lot of good use for this boomerang. Even in this dungeon itself, like, you get it, and then immediately there are some good backtracking puzzles where you can go use the boomerang, and like they put it to use once you get it in this dungeon, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a nice sort of, I don't know, upgrade or like twist on what they did with the boomerang in Wind Waker. Yeah. And I prefer these over like the Ocarina of Time boomerang is
definitely
the weaker of the three 3D boomerangs that we've encountered so far. I
like that you can select like multiple lock-on points and have it like hit here, then there, then there, then there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned like you can start to backtrack and get stuff with it, and I would say this dungeon has decent size and complexity for a first dungeon. Like I said, the game has a long introduction, so you should be familiar with the mechanics of the game. So it's not, I don't think of this so much as a tutorial dungeon, it's like we're getting you into some serious dungeon diving at this point. And there is there's some non-linearity, there's backtracking, even taking out like getting goodies. That was the thing in Wind Waker where it was like, they became more complex when you had to factor in the goodies. This is like, it starts you off where it's like the monkeys, they do kind of keep you on track, but there are parts where you're on your own. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, it's nothing, you're not going to get super lost. Like, you can kind of brute force your way through this dungeon, but you do have to pay a little bit of attention.
One of the notes that I had written down is that like the way that the monkey narrative unlocks is like progressive, and it's like, because you started off and it's like you're by yourself pretty much, and the dungeon is very linear at the beginning, and then you have to save one monkey, and then after that it's like, okay, now you have to save two monkeys, and you have to split off and save those two, and then after that the final section is like, okay, now you got to save like 3 or 4 or something like that, and you can kind of go and do them whenever you get to that location. It's not, it gradually opens up to be a little bit more non-linear from being linear, that's a cool thing to do for the first dungeon in a game, because a lot of times it's like with intro dungeons, which it's this is very far into the game because it's several hours in, so calling it an intro dungeon is like, but for the first dungeon of a game, it's cool that they kind of just like jumpstart you right away with like, no, this is an actual dungeon. They're like, you've already got 2 items by the time you come into this dungeon. Yeah, they're not babying you too much, which is nice.
So we talk. This will be a prevalent thing, but like, Twilight Princess, the dungeons especially get more so There's more you can seek out when you start to factor in all the goodies. Twilight Princess packs them in because they've got all these extra heart containers and stamps and stuff like that. So that's sort of that just sort of goes without saying for future dungeons. So I'm just going to mention that here. It might come up more, but I feel like this is just a broad statement that I'll throw in there. So why don't we talk about, we've kind of talked about, so the monkey narrative comes to a head with the final boss, Dia Baba, this big nasty Deku Baba. And yeah, the payoff here is you team up with Ook, who, free of the parasite, joins your side, and it brings together using the Gale Boomerang to kind of grab bomblings to use against Dia Baba. I think this is a pretty fun boss fight.
Yeah.
I always, I always found it interesting, like, I always connect, maybe it's because the platform and the era, like, they're so close together, but this always felt to me, I always loved this game when it came out, and Resident Evil 4 when it came out on GameCube, with the dog that you free early on in Resident Evil 4. You free this dog from a bear trap, and then in one of the early boss fights, the dog comes back and helps you.
That's great.
And
That's
yeah,
great.
I don't know. There's something in the DNA of the games that I'm like, there's some crossover there. But
that's always very charming when it's like your good deeds pay off.
And it's some animal creature, it's a good feeling. So then you defeat Dia Baba, get the first piece of the fused shadow, which I don't know how much we'll talk about. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the sort of overall story maybe towards the end, but you got the fused shadow. Midna, she's there. We got to go get 2 more to take down the supposed villain of Twilight Princess, Zant. So
Zant.
That's the first dungeon. I think it's I've talked. We won't belabor this. I've talked over and over. I hate that you have to go to this dungeon 3 times before you can actually enter it in the game. But I think this is a strong starter, if you want to call it that, a strong opening dungeon of a game. Like that storyline, the sort of openness of it. It's a real dungeon. So I don't know. You wanna rank the thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Me first or you first?
Let's flip it over. I've got another scene here. We've got Corey's list on the left. Mine's on the right, or actually mine's on the left. Corey's is on the right. I'll go ahead and rank it first. The way I thought about this is, even though it's not an intro dungeon, I usually like to take a look at the other intro dungeons in the game. And here, let me just go ahead and show you. I'll reveal it. I ranked it at 23 on my list, and I think it's because it's not an intro dungeon, I don't think, but it is the best first dungeon in the game, which I've kept highlighted green here for whatever reason. That's the only highlighted dungeons I have, is all my first ones. So I've started with Deku Tree, and I just worked up from there. And it's already, I don't know, these are strong. It's a strong dungeon territory for me. Like, these are all dungeons that I think of as, like, in my mind, are really cool, really creative. I think the story does a lot for this one. And then there's, 23 is pretty good. I think up from there, get into like my favorite ones where there's like a lot of meat on them. They're more open-ended and complex,
that's almost like a gatekeeper into like the next tier of really good dungeon.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna be mixed on the dungeons of this game. I think we'll probably disagree on a lot, but I think one thing I can say about this game is it says a lot that it starts there. It starts so strong, So, what do you think, Corey? Where did you rank it?
So I similar to you, I usually the first thing I do is compare it to just the other dungeons in the game that I've already ranked. Since this is the first one, I did the same thing. I was like, all right, well, let me think of the intro dungeons, and let me reveal mine. I ended up putting it at number 31, which is
Ooh.
basically right around. It's not too much lower than yours. It's a little bit, but I feel
Hmm.
like we have had a similar kind of like a lot of the dungeons that are around mine are also kind of around your ranking of Forest Temple. Like it's just a few above inside the Great Daegu Tree. It's near Deepwood, right below Deepwood Shrine, which is another wooded style intro dungeon. And then it's just like a little bit below Forbidden Woods from Wind Waker. So it's kind of near other very strong vibe foresty themed dungeons.
Okay,
I
yeah, I
think
like
it's
that.
really solid. The My favorite part was the way that it gradually branches out and the monkey narrative, because that's just like a really good way to to like drive that's a good compelling way to make you like go through the dungeon, because I do feel like there are some spots in this dungeon where it like it's not necessarily keeping you on the edge of your seat in terms of anything that you're doing, but
Hmm.
I do think it has a really nice through line. And I think comparing it to Inside the Great Deku Tree and Deepwood Shrine, Great Deku Tree does do a lot more of that tutorialization, because that's a tried and true intro dungeon where it's
Yeah,
like that's teaching you mechanics of the game. So a lot of the dungeon, if you've played it a bunch, can feel a little trivial. And the opposite of that is like Temple of Droplets, where I feel like that does a great job of tutorializing, and it also stands apart on its
yeah,
own merit as a good designed dungeon. Whereas this one is kind of like a mix. It doesn't quite tutorialize as good because you've been playing the game for a while, but it is a good dungeon. So I ended up just tossing it right there at 31, which I feel
yeah.
like is pretty solid.
Pretty strong ranking, I would say. Yeah, this will be a thing. This will be a thing going throughout the Twilight Princess for me. Is that I feel like um, the dungeons are mixed in terms of like what my personal taste is of like what makes like an awesome Zelda dungeon, but it has this new thing to it that's kind of playing upon the older like the previous games, which is like creating these grand sort of narratives as you go through them. And I think that might be
Yeah,
Twilight Princess might do that better than any other game,
most games.
which I
They do
think
a
is
great job of having the individual dungeons have their own through line, which is very cool.